Today we are making video on TUXEDO OS 2. Here is the boot menu of TUXEDO OS 2. This is to boot in a live mode, and this is the installed BIOS system on, and the other option is reboot. So let's boot it in a live mode by clicking on TUXEDO OS 2, try and install. It usually takes like a minute maximum to show up the desktop, or minimum like 30 to 40 seconds. That's the basic timing of Linux distros. Usually every Linux distro will take a maximum of a minute or a minute and a half, or less than like sometimes it takes less time, like 30 to 40 seconds, which is almost most of the Linux distro will take like 30 to 40 seconds if it's what you call it, like a stable version. If it's in a alpha version, development version like that, that's going to take a lot of time sometimes. As you can see, here is a TUXEDO OS logo with a loading thing, and the version should be 2023 17th, and some numbers are given in front of the TUXEDO OS. I'm going to show you the download, how to download from their website. So we need to wait for a few more seconds because it's taking a lot of time. I think it's a mid-weight Linux distro or maybe heavyweight Linux distro, because as you can see, that's taking a lot of time. Usually it doesn't take, not every Linux distro takes this much of time. Only like a Fedora or Ubuntu will take. Even Ubuntu doesn't take that much of time as TUXEDO OS. It's still loading, and Linux Lite is also same as TUXEDO OS, because it takes a lot of time like TUXEDO OS 2. Even the logo takes a minute to load up in the Linux Lite. If you want to check that out, I made a video on it. And I forgot to mention that I'm running it on a virtual machine, which is a VMware with 80 GB of hard disk, 4 GB of RAM, and with 2 processors. And TUXEDO is powered by KDE Plasma. I think the desktop environment is KDE Plasma in the TUXEDO OS 2 ISO file which I downloaded. And here you can see there is a welcome screen. First you need to choose your language. I'm going to choose the American English language. You can choose any language. There are plenty of languages available here, as you can see. Click on next, and we should be seeing our location here. You can choose any location. There is no need to give your actual location. I'm choosing America, Los Angeles. You can choose anything. And here are some customization to change. You can change it if you want. I'm just going to keep it like that and click on next. Here is our keyboard layout. You need to choose your keyboard model here. I'm using a Dell wireless keyboard, but it automatically chooses generic 105 key PC. It's always this thing for me, but it works for me, so I'm going to set it up. I'm choosing English as the things, and our terminal is running, as you can see here. I think it's going to take like a few more seconds, maximum of 30 seconds. And we should be having our desktop loaded up in a few more seconds. The desktop environment is here as the KDE Plasma desktop environment. I don't know the version of the KDE Plasma desktop environment in the TUXEDO OS 2. I think we should be getting a 5.27 like that, because this is the latest version. 5.27 is the latest version. So again, it's taking a lot of time. And instead of this, I'm going to post 2 videos daily without missing any day. So if you want to check that out too, I'm making another video on Deep in Linux today, which is 20.9, which is released yesterday. For some other countries it should be released today. So I'm making a video on it. Usually I don't like a Deep in Linux, and I don't want to make the content on a Deep in Linux. Just for the viewers, I'm going to make a content on a Deep in Linux, because I promise that I will be giving the latest news from for Linux from my side. So whether it's I hate the Linux or doesn't hate, I love, whatever it is, I'm going to give the content for you. So I will be making a video on Deep in Linux. I think after this TUXEDO OS, I'm going to be making a Deep in Linux 20.9 video. So if you want, you can check that out too. So here is our desktop, which is completely loaded. So let's first change the display settings. It took almost like 2 minutes to almost show the desktop. So remember that thing. And let's change the display resolution. Mine is 1920 into 1080. Which automatically changed because I'm using a VMware. If you are using in a hard disk or you installed in a hard disk, you need to change it manually by right clicking a mouse, and you'll see a display setting, and here is your display setting. If you can't see the text or a font size properly, you need to change it to 150% will be good for the 920 into 1080 because that's the best option. You can change up to 300%, but for the 1920 into 1080, 150% should be pretty much good. So let's check about the system. And this is the TUXEDO OS 2, and this is their website. We have our latest KDE Plasma desktop environment, which is 5.27.4. This is the latest version, and frameworks is 5.105, which is also the latest, and Qt version is 5.15.8. and kernel version is the latest version, as you can see, 6.2.0, and graphics platform is X11. And these are some hardware. If you want, you can read it. Let's close this thing and just open the system monitor, because we need to see the resources before the beginning of the video and ending of the video. You will be having an idea of how much resources are consumed. I didn't open any other apps other than the system monitor. We just opened the system settings, that's display settings, that's it. So here is the resources. There is almost 1.3 GB of RAM consumed of 4 GB RAM, and CPU is also running at 25%, below 25%, and there is no swap. And this is the networks. This is some info of the system. You don't need to worry about the networks. You just need to remember the memory and the CPU. I'm going to open it again at the end of the video, and you will be seeing how much resources are consumed, and you will be having an idea of how much resources are consumed. So if you will get an idea of to use this Linux distro or not, you will be one to judge this Linux distro. I'm not going to say. I'm just going to give you opinion. That's it. So here are the applications running, and here are the history, RAM, CPU. So here are the processors. So as you can see, these are all the processors running right now. Let's close this thing and open the terminal and get some distro info. Here is a terminal. Let's check the version of the console, which should be 22.12.3 as usual. Because it's a KDE Plasma desktop environment, the version will be same. And let's type in few commands like inxi-sv8. This command will grab every distro info, almost everything. So as you can see, host is a TUXEDO OS, and the kernel is 6.2, which I already mentioned. It's a 64-bit architecture. So here is the 64-bit KDE Plasma desktop environment version, which I already mentioned. Qt version already mentioned. Kvin. And the version of the TUXEDO OS is here, 22.042, and I'm using a VMware, so it's going to say it's a VMware. And BIOS Phoenix version will be always version 6.0. And here is our RAM, and here is my CPU. If you want to know the CPU, here is the CPU. Let's scroll it down, and VMWGFX version is a 2.20.0. So let's scroll in. X.Arch 1.21.1.3, display is X11, and Mesa graphics Mesa is 22.3.7, LLVM version is 4.1. So let's scroll it down and let's find out some of other info. INXI version is 3.3.13, Bash version is 5.1.16. System D version is 249, and the processors is 250. Uptime is 7 minutes. Wake ups are 22. And compiler GCC 11.3.0. And that's it. Let's type in few more commands. It's the same commands, but it's in a short form. for example INXI, which gives the same info of the distro as we saw the top command INXI-B. Again same info, nothing will be changed, just in a short form it's available. INXI-G, again same info. So let's type in cat:/etc/issue and TUXEDO OS 2 LTS, which is a long-term support. Let's type in neofetch if it's available or pre-installed. Here is our neofetch. If you want, you can go through all this thing. Let's type in headstop if it's available or not. Headstop is also available. The RAM is almost 1.15 of 4 GB, and here is the CPU, almost 100%, and tasks are 81. So let's close this thing and let's open the internet browser, which is Firefox, which is default browser in every Linux distro, almost every Linux distro. I saw it. So I'm going to show you their website and the downloading process there. So the version of the Firefox should be 111, I guess, which is yes, the latest version is a 1112. This is the latest version of Firefox, and it's a TUXEDO 1, and this is a version. So let's type in the search term, which is TUXEDO OS. Just that's it. And here is the official website of the TUXEDO Computers, TUXEDO OS. Click on the first link and scroll it down. If you want to read all these things, you can read it, no problem. Go through the website completely and you will be having of info what the TUXEDO OS provides. All the things, there's a lot of things they give in the description here. If you want, you can read it. There are two available options to download via torrent, and another one is through your normal download. Here is the index of the download. This is the version of a TUXEDO OS, latest version. As you can see, the date 2023-04-17. Today is the same date. So here is the ISO file. If you want to download the ISO file, click on it. It's almost a 3.5 GB of file size. So click on the download, and here is our download triggered. So almost 3.5 GB. I'm using a VPN, so it takes a lot of time. So I'm just going to close it. So this is the download process, and this was the website. So let's close this thing and let's try to install. I'm just going to show you the installation process. I'm not going to install it. So it's always common thing or a common installation process in the Linux distro. There's nothing complicated here. Just first you need to choose your language. I'm choosing English. Click on next. You need to choose your partitions. Always be careful while choosing the partitions, because it's going to erase everything if you choose the erase disk, like photos, media files, all these things. So be careful while doing this. It's going to boot it in a single it's going to do like a single boot if you choose the erase disk. And here is the manual partitioning. You can choose it to as a dual boot or do anything you want, or you can resize partitions. And you need to have an idea or information of what you're doing here. So I'm just choosing erase disk. This is my hard disk. Always you can see your hard disk here, or SSD, whatever you are using to install. So if you want to encrypt, you can encrypt. Always remember the password. Always give the strong password and write it down the password, because if you forgot the password, it's a problem. And it's better to always remember the password or write it down the password. And here is the bootloader location. The automatic one is the best one. If you want to install it later, you can do that. It's clearly up to you. So after clicking next, you need to provide your username, password. For example, like I'm choosing runboxing. You don't need to give the actual username on the passwords. You can give anything, and the password should be always strong, because that's the thing which will keep safe. So I'm choosing the simple password for the sake of the video. I'm just ignoring the require strong password. If you need to click on this, so you will get an idea is it strong or not. So I'm going to choose login automatically without asking password. You need to uncheck this button if you want to be safe. So this, if everything is good, there will be tick mark like this. So if you don't give the strong password, this will be like this. The password contains fewer than 2 character classes. So always do correctly everything. So click on next, and you will be having a summary of what will happen after clicking on install. Here is the complete thing, what happens after the clicking on install button. It's going to take a maximum of 20 minutes or a minimum of 5 to 10 minutes. Depends on your PC, depends on the Linux distro. So after that, it's going to say finish the installation. Click on finish, and you need to reboot your system. If you choose the erase disk, it's going to boot it in a single boot or a single operating system. If you choose the manual partitioning, it's going to give you 2 operating system options like a dual boot. So that's the process of the installation. Let's close this thing. Let's see what all comes with TUXEDO OS. Let's first check the desktop features, which is KDE Plasma desktop environment, and the options will be also the same desktop options: internet, devices, volume, updates, and here is the TUXEDO Control Centre. This is the additional thing which you will get in a KDE Plasma desktop environment. It's from the TUXEDO OS. So dashboard, you can go through all these things on your own if you want. So these are all the things which are available. You can choose your language, do anything you want. It's clearly up to you to customize anything. Dashboard, all these things. So let's close this thing. Let's see what are the desktop wallpapers available for the TUXEDO OS. I think there should be nothing. They gave here like 20 wallpapers almost. These are some of the KDE Plasma desktop environment wallpapers. And let's see TUXEDO OS wallpapers. There's not much from the TUXEDO OS, just a basic and average wallpapers. As you can see, there is no best wallpaper in here. For some people it should be good, but for me it's not. So this is the wallpapers. This one is the good when what I see there. So let's open the updates and see what are all the updates available. So it's going to take a few seconds. So instead of waiting for that, let's check the version of the apps which are pre-installed here. The file manager version of the Dolphin browser file manager is 22.12.3. The available apps from the KDE desktop environment will be versioned with like this, 22.12.3 or 0.2 like that. That's the difference. Almost everything will be same. And here are the updates available right now. The file size of the updates are just 10 MB, under 10 MB. So if you want to upgrade, you can upgrade it. So let's see what are all the apps which comes pre-installed here. Almost everything is from the KDE Plasma desktop environment. I don't think there is much from the TUXEDO OS. There's nothing, just a few apps like a helper and a control center and a auto repair and a creator. That's it, nothing more than this. And we don't need to open every app because it's a KDE Plasma 5.27.4. so you already know what are all the apps version here. Just let me open just few apps which are important and check the version of that and end the video. There's nothing much more than that. So the version of KDE Thunderbird is 102.10.0. so let's open LibreOffice, which is also important for some viewers. The version for LibreOffice will be all same, whether it's a calculator, Impress, whatever it is, the version will be same. I think the version should be like a 7.5 because that's the latest version available. 7.3.7.2, which is also almost a latest version, no problem even if you're using that. So again, I think that's it. There's nothing more than that, just some apps. Let's open and see what are these apps. Just a command things. Would you like to attempt an automatic repair? An attempt will be made to reset the system to the TUXEDO default settings. A fewer queries will appear in advance. We don't want to do that. So these are some of the apps available from the TUXEDO OS, nothing more than that. So I think you have an information of what is available here. So let's close this thing and see. Let's check the system monitor, because I already mentioned that I'm going to open it again after opening some of the apps, and you will be having an idea of how much resources are consumed. As you can see, it's almost a 2.8 GB. Before, or the beginning of the video, it was like a 1.3 GB, and here now it is a 2.8 GB. And let's see what are all the applications open right now. These are all the applications running, and history, CPU, and processes are here. And in my opinion, it's not for a low-end PC. As you can see, there's a lot of lag going on, because I'm using a 4 GB of RAM, and using a 4 GB of RAM is a bit of lag. Not a major lag, but a bit of lag here and there. And if you're using a 2 GB of RAM and you only have a 2 GB of RAM, I'm going to say you better skip this Linux distro, because it's almost a 2.8 GB. If you're using a 2 GB of RAM, it's the available RAM should be like a 1.8 GB, because 2 GB of RAM is almost 1.8 GB. Here it's almost a 1 GB more. I didn't open that many apps, just 2 apps and some settings, that's it. It's almost 2.8 GB, so it's better to skip this Linux distro if you're having a 2 GB RAM, only 2 GB of RAM, and a low CPU or a normal CPU like a Pentium, like that. CPU is good here, as you can see. That's not using a lot of resources here, but the RAM is almost 2.8 GB. That's on a bad side. So it's up to you to use it or not. So that's my opinion. I said my opinion. It's clearly up to you. So let me open my channel and end this video here. So this part is only for the viewers who want to watch my content without subscribing. People who already subscribed, no need to worry. You just need to skip this thing. So in order to watch my content without subscribing, if you don't want to subscribe, it's clearly up to you. I'm not going to force you. So this is the URL you need to type in if you are using a web browser in a TV, mobile, or a tab. If you are using a YouTube app in your mobile, TV, or a tab, just type in 9to5 Linux. If you are using a browser in any devices, just type in complete URL and click on enter. It's going to open directly my channel. I'm using a VPN. I already mentioned that. It's going to take a few seconds to open. And here is my website. If you are here for only Linux content, just go to the playlist and you will find a Linux here, and click on view full playlist, and you will be having a full complete Linux videos, almost 1561 videos, almost 1.5k, almost now 1.6k. I covered almost 70 to 80% of Linux distros, every different types of Linux distros, every variety of Linux distros I covered here. So if you want to play all or shuffle, do anything you want, it's clearly up to you. If you want to search like a specific term here, like a specific Linux distro, for example MX Linux, let me click on enter. You need to click on enter after typing your search term, and the latest videos will be available here. Whether it's alpha version, development version, pre-release, beta version, whatever it is, as soon as the ISO file is released, I'm going to provide the content. So you don't need to wait for some other people or some other channels. If you want to visit their channels, I have no problem. You can go visit their channels. So I'll be providing the latest content here. So that's the point I'm trying to explain here. So that's it. So about here info is the main thing. I'll post 2 videos daily without missing any day. Today I'm going to post another video like a deep in Linux after TUXEDO OS completion. After completing the TUXEDO OS, I'm going to make a content on a deep in Linux. The videos will be available at these timings, so there is no problem in timings. The content should be available before the timings because I will put the videos in a Premiere. So you should be having an idea what the content will be available before the timings. So if you want to go to the latest info, if you want the latest information of the Linux distros releases or the packages, I will be providing here. You don't need to worry. Just keep an eye on here. And again, that's it. If you want to subscribe, you can subscribe. If you don't want, it's clearly up to you. I respect your opinion. So let's close this thing and end the video. So again, I'm making another video today. As usual, I make 2 videos daily. So if you want, you can watch it after this video. So let me shut down and end this video. Again, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, hit the thumbs up button. It helps make a good content for you. Other than that, I'll see you in tomorrow's video. Peace out.